This week in Lenten Landscapes, we move from Egypt into the wilderness. The wilderness. What comes to mind? Polar snowfields, desert sand, the boreal forests of Siberia. None of these are common where I live. What defines wilderness? Wildness, I think. A physical space that defies not only control but comprehension. The lack of signposts, paths, predictability. Wild, rather than tame spaces. Places to become lost in. Places to find oneself, to be found. After the escape from Egypt and that dramatic parting of the Red Sea, Moses and his band of followers spent 40 years in wandering, searching for and not arriving at the land of milk and honey that they'd been promised. Lost and found. They were truly lost, scrambling for food, water, and direction that they could take a firm hold of. Lost because though there was manna from the sky, water from the rock, and guidance in a pillar of fire by night, a pillar of cloud by day, that all sounds impressive to me. These were not things they could control or in any way call their own. Found, since what they needed for each day was given by God. Found in a relationship with a God who travelled with them and did not forsake them. Found, little by little, as in their travelling they became a people, not slaves, but free. For me, wilderness places are where we can lose our conformity to other people's expectations or our own well-worn patterns of convenience, and then find something of our own wildness. We all have this wildness, this God-given originality, inner life that is ours to discover, own, and outwardly express. In the early Christian centuries, men and women left the city with all its attendant complexity to seek God, and in so doing begin to find themselves. The Abbas and Ammas, desert fathers and mothers of the Egyptian and Syrian deserts. The Celtic pilgrims, travelling across untamed sea and land as hermits and evangelists. A wilderness expressed in landscape, but also more than this. Silence, simplicity, humble and vulnerable openness to the land and its rhythms, staying with rather than running from their own unease, discovering more about the fears and needs that ordinarily drove them, being discovered by God, lost and found. Wilderness helps us get in touch with our own wildness. Looking back, I don't think that wildness was something ever encouraged in me. The Chapmans were renowned at school for being good, polite, not making a fuss, outwardly compliant. And these were values strongly advocated by my parents, good values. The difficulty for me arose in the wide gap between the ordered outward self I presented to the world and that inner disorder of my needs, fears, desires, and feelings that seemed to have no legitimate place in what was expected of me and what I came to expect of myself. I wasn't angry, afraid, needy, longing, because I picked up I couldn't be, except I was angry, afraid, needy, and full of longing. The wilderness places of my adult years were those experiences that pitched me beyond my capacity to successfully keep up that outward face, where the power of my self-imposed order began to crumble away, and I tumbled deep into the fearful chaos of needs and feelings I previously rejected, kept at bay, didn't understand and didn't want. But that complexity was me. So lost, I felt so lost, and beginning to be found. These weren't experiences I wanted or I chose. I can be grateful for them now, for all that they gave me. But in the moment, they were struggle, disintegration, and the beginning of integration. I remember a time when that word, integrity, began to bother me. If it had meant anything to me before that time, it was something to do with honesty, trustworthiness, and other of those qualities I felt encouraged to live by. But what was integrity? There was something bothering me about the word. Gradually, I came to understand that integrity, the path to integrity, was not the avoidance or rejection of anything that didn't fit into my self-designed order, but the welcoming of everything that was real and human about me, and the orientation of this whole towards love. And if I allowed this was the desire and the labour of God in me, and God for me. My understanding of integrity wasn't head knowledge. I didn't look in the dictionary. It was my experience, the beginning of the experience of being found in these most lost, sometimes desperate times, and persuaded to let go into this love that had a capital L, a purposeful presence, a surprising hope. I had no way of integrating myself, but this love wanted to integrate me if I chose to cooperate with it. It wanted to bring out in me the wildness of my original creation. There are ways we can begin to enter this integrating wilderness. We can do as Jesus did, step beyond the familiar landscape of our lives and allow our raw reality to rest in God. Prayer, though that word means so many things. Prayer of the wilderness is not our asking God to restore our notion of order, but allowing God to meet us in our disorder and remake us, gather us, make us whole from this place. Prayer of the wilderness often feels clumsy, inarticulate. We meet our restlessness, and somewhere there's the invitation also to rest our all. For this isn't prayer of performance, it's prayer of vulnerability, of simple need and desire. The 40 days of Jesus' wilderness invite us to stay with this openness, to let it teach us about what drives and oppresses us. Yet, rather than fret about these things, or go into that familiar self-judgment, quietly go on resting this awkward reality in the compassion of God who knows this truth and loves it. The God who wants us to be free, wild and loving. The wilderness, being wild, is not always of our choosing. Circumstances drive us there, and then our old maps of how to be or what to do no longer seem to work. These wilderness times are disconcerting. We are lost, and it is painful to be lost. We can't see the grand picture of the meaning of this place, not now at least. Yet God is the God of wild places like these, present to us and for us now, finding us, helping us find ourselves. We are lost, and we are found.